Okay, this is your pre-market recap review. We're going to show how the trading strategies that we use were executed in the market today. That being said, I think I cut myself shaving, so if my neck looks like I have some sort of disease, please ignore that. I don't. At least not that kind. Okay, so we wake up around here. What are we looking at? Well, this was the video I made yesterday about the overnight action with the pullback from the 3-minute LVN right here. There's more reasons why that LVN is relevant, but it's actually right about here. We then continued higher from like 2 a.m. or whatever. So in that case, we are in a uptrend. The uptrend is moving up towards some level of residual resistance possibly. There's not a very clear level here except for the fact that we were trading inside of the macro high. Maybe we can call this the one back yellow area, which I haven't really talked about, but it goes above that and comes down. So this level here is not really major resistance. We're gonna go slow down, look at our strategies here. So we have, in this case, this was where the overnight video, the open of the overnight was. We have a big sell attempt here, and then we're above that. So everything up here is trading in an uptrend, type 2 uptrend. And actually in this case, it's a type 1 uptrend on multiple time frames. So I wasn't trading this late. We can go over and recap it. At the risk of making this video overly long and pedantic, we're gonna go take a look at that. So we see that this is, in this case, a type 1 uptrend, even on the 15-second. We have a big break above this. This is functioning as support. Where's our buy level inside of this? Well, it never really even gets touched, right? So this is now an open, low volume node on a longer term time frame, which should function as support, and we see it functioning as support down there. This is a type 1 uptrend. As we've broken above this range, there's really no reason to sell. This is a failure of a downtrend here. So in this case, we're still trying to buy that. So if we look, where's our inversion of this type 1 inversion into a type 2 uptrend? If all that's getting a little bit wordy, go look at the other videos, but it's right there. That's major support. So had you been trading this, even a break below this, you want to stay out of this area. Why is this major support? Because we have an LVN on the 15-second right here. It gets invalidated. So if this was going to be the trend reversal level, we have major support right there. It's failed initiative selling on a medium-term time frame. We also have, in the same structure, down here, the final candle, that, well, this is the, right here is the failure to hold the range. Right here is the last push on the initiative candle, and you can see that the market is respecting that and bouncing there, and it holds above that for some time. So let's say we woke up here and we're trading this. How do we take entries off this? Well, we can use our delta level to infer where we should enter on the 15-second. These are residual support levels, so we'll talk about that in a second, but if we're trading this uptrend here, we look for failed delta levels. So as we draw the fixed range volume profile out, even on the 15-second here, we see that there's trap delta, and entering here on a pullback and scalping to the top is in a type 1 uptrend, basically a zero pullback trade. I mean, you enter here, you sell at the top, ta-da, you had almost no drawdown. In the right market context, that works almost every time. If you misread the market context, it won't, but yeah, it works pretty well here. Failed delta on the 15-second in a type 1 uptrend, pretty easy money, not trading advice. Definitely not investment advice. So that's great. That's our residual support level here. As long as this is intact, this is still at uptrend on this trend, on this time frame. This right here is a failure of this. You know, maybe that becomes a type 2 right there. But right here, this is a failure. Why is it a failure? Because we have gone below this delta level, and then the market here is responding to this LVN specifically. And actually, it tries to probe a little bit higher above that and retraces. So once again, if this downtrend was going to continue immediately, this would have been the sell as it comes back up here, and you see that that breaks. This then should be support if the trend was going to continue. This is our first failure right there. This should hold, it fails. Selling the inversion of the 15-second LVN is supposed to work here for if this trend was going to continue on the micro time frame. Because we are in a longer term uptrend, trading against that failure should work for trend continuation. When this doesn't work, that flags this condition as problematic at best. It's a signal that there may be a reversal incoming. This is the first failure of that. The second failure in here is this initiative candle push You see the market holding that. Once we break below that, that is a trend reversal and we can sell in there. This here too, the break of this low is a problem, but you can't sell the lows in a longer term uptrend. So think about the time frames. You expand this a little bit more. We look out here, this is an uptrend. You can't sell the lows when there's all this green stuff over here. You need to wait for a pullback, even if you're trading in the direction of the micro time frame. Like the 15-second is down. We're still talking about this area up here. The 15-second is down. You have to wait for a pullback, and then selling the initiative candle area here is good. And then even better, there's a little LVN right there. This big spike up on the green level. See this little tiny gap right there? It's easier to identify because this is a big series, a big spike up there. You can draw the fixed range volume profile out and see that there's really no trading activity that takes place right there. But this is prime resistance. You have a failure here, another failure here, and then where's the best opportunity for responsive entry? Right there. It's also overlapping with the other ways that we measure these. You can call this the initiative level for the short sailors that have failed. Either way, selling up in here is viable, and then you can see that the market retraces pretty strongly. Where does it go down to? It goes all the way down to this inversion here. We talked about that towards the beginning of the video. So how do you trade around that? Same concept. We're trying to trade against failed initiative sellers. So we have an LVN here, low volume node, fair value gap, however you want to call it. This should be a trend continuation. And then we have an inversion of the high volume node here. So we've cleared this. This is blue delta. We've cleared blue delta. And once we've come all the way back up here to this high volume node, where's the entry if this was going to continue up? It's right inside of here in the inversion of this fair value gap or LVN. The context of this, again, is that we are in a longer term uptrend. So on the 1 minute, the 5 minute, the 3 minute, all of this is an uptrend. So in theory, if we were going to hold this for a swing trade, this would be the area where we would buy and then potentially look for continuation higher. So how do we sit there and wait for that and then, kind of like stalk our entries? Right here is the entry for that. We come up to where some problematic areas up here. This is an inversion of initiative buying. So that's a sell area. So really you would, bounce off of that. You would be taking this from here to here if you're just scalping. If you're trying to hold a swing trade, you'd maybe be looking up here. I don't really know if you should hold swing trades at 12 o'clock in the morning. Debatable. Not the strategy that I would recommend on high margin, because you just take more profits here. So this is a secondary entry here. This then becomes support. You should be scalping this up to the top. Where's the next level? Inversion of initiative buy activity. Bang, bang, right there. Okay, great. Where's the failure? Because clearly this fails. Where's the failure? Remove a couple of the boxes here. When I say where's the failure, what I'm really asking is where do we identify the first example of market context shifts? Well, we see that this is the initiative sell level, and it's the exact same thing. If this was going to be an uptrend here, that level right there should hold. We see an attempt to hold it. We go below it. You can sell there, take it to the bottom. Sell there, take it to the bottom. This is still functioning as support. You see a big old spike there. You have to be careful down here. Again, don't sell the lows in a longer term uptrend. Wait for a pullback on the micro time frame and attack the areas where there were failures. This is a failure of the initiative sell attack. I'm using a lot of words that might not make sense. This should be a buy that holds. Why? Initiative sell push in an uptrend. It's support. There's an attempt there. It breaks below it. You can sell right there. Take off down here. Oh, we've crushed through that again. Sell there. Sell the area that had failed. What are these green boxes? These green boxes are the inversion of this sell attempt, which is the inversion of the 3 minute. So this is a major structure that we trade around. Something that really in your market process, like you should be drawing these boxes every single time because they're extremely relevant, extremely powerful, and we see big movements off of them almost always. And then when we don't, we see a failure of the market state and it shifts. And actually you can see that right here where we have a push here and then this functions as temporary resistance. So how do we get this major green box? Once again, failure of this second entry short, invalidation of this entire range, 3 minute LVN inside of there. That's textbook entry, textbook support resistance pivot level. And it's right there. And then once we go below it, you can sell inside there. and it would be a little bit higher if we're looking here. Where's the LVN? It's right there, and lo and behold, we tag that box basically perfectly. So we come in here and look at the same thing, tag the box basically perfectly. This right here is initiative sell, inverted LVN. We crush below that. Selling right there is your entry on that failure. Once you tag this, or you could just wait for very simply a break of structure. High volume node is accumulated here. We go there. This should hold. If it was a type 1 uptrend on the 15-second off of this, it breaks below, sell there, take it to the bottom. Where's the failed initiative selling? Bottom of that candle right there. Exact exit. I don't know, that was pretty good if you ask me. The more I do this, the better I get. I'm gonna be like a little market wizard here in a second. So anyways, we're moving on to what happens when this breaks. You have another attempt to sell here. It's a congestion range. I'm actually gonna go ahead and remove all those boxes so we have a little bit more clarity. Once we have this big push down here, this is a pivot. We've moved above the pivot. This area here is now failed selling. Where? Initiative push on the 15-second. If this is going to be a trend, this box here is going to be where it reverses. There's an LVN here on the 15-second. You see this big old gap up? It's an initiative push off there, which got invalidated, meaning it should be a sell, and it's not. It goes above that. We make a new high. Enter right there. Almost perfect. I mean, when I say almost perfect, that's pretty good, guys. Okay, cool. So now we've moved up here. This is clearly making new highs, so we're in an uptrend. Type 1 uptrend or type 2 uptrend? Type 2. Why? Because there's resistance up here. There's plenty of areas where if you look at this as like an inverted LVN still, same exact thing, inverted buy push, the market's retracing from there. Then also, lo and behold, becomes support in a minute. So really you should be looking to buy retracements in the direction of this and take off at resistance. And then once this clears this, you can enter on the other side of the pivot. Where's the failed initiative buy? It's not really that clear in this one. You do, however, have a high volume node inversion. And then once we clear that, we can trade here. As the market starts making these new highs without subsequent pullbacks, this has now shifted to be a type 1 uptrend. You can also tell because the swing highs are getting more steep. From here to here is at a slope of, I don't know, 35 or something. This one's more steep, very clearly more steep if you're taking the swing highs. All right, so this is where it gets tricky. We are in a type 1 uptrend, a break higher here. However, if we're remembering what our major support and resistance levels are, this was a break of this trend here. If we take the fixed range volume profile indicator and draw our LVNs, we've gone below this low. This is from another video, I'll link that one, about I think I called it like my best trading strategy or something. But once we break below this low, right here, this is the pullback. Once we break below the low here, this trend is invalidated. And this area here is where the low volume nodes are. This is the actual lowest volume node. And we can say that you don't want to be long up here until we get a clear inversion of that. This is likely to pull back. And we see that it's pretty good, pretty good. So how's that relevant to us? Well, if we're trading this uptrend inside of this, we need to be careful over here. There's room for reversal. In fact, this is actually probably a type, A+ setup in this, and we'd actually be looking to sell up here and then sell for a possible downtrend as we reverse inside of this. So where's our first failure of this downtrend, or the uptrend, I mean? Same thing, we're looking for initiative levels that have got inverted. So right here is an initiative buy level. There's a second attempt here, and that's a failed second entry long, and then right there is really good. And then actually, as the market continues, maybe you didn't hit this, as the market continues, every time, only in this context, by the way, you have to be very aware of the market context. I haven't really defined, talked about them, kind of throwing a lot of stuff out here. But in this context where we're talking about the major resistance levels of the 3-minute LVNs that have inverted because of the failed second entry shorts, it's a mouthful, right? This is major resistance. This is a reversal. This has failed. This should have been a buy. We are now making subsequent lows on the 15-second. This is a 15-second downtrend, which has now started off of a major reversal level. You can just simply sell blue delta. You can sell the inversion of this, or if they happen to be at the exact same location, that gives you 2 reasons to enter there, which makes the trade strong. I know I said don't sell lows in a longer term uptrend. Off of resistance, this in theory is a top. You can then sell the trend shift here, and this is the best way to take the trend shift. The two ways I just mentioned. Identify the trend shift there. I'm going to go ahead and remove those, and then you can see that this here is a low that it stops up here. Why is this a low? Failed initiative selling. Red delta. Last attempt to hold that range, and then that's where the type 1 uptrend starts. So this is a level where you have to be careful because it's a range breakout followed by a push up. And you see there's a level here that attempts to buy that. Also, take note, once that fails, great pivot entry. So anyways, you're going to clear your positions down here, hypothetically, not investment advice. Where would you take this if this was going to be a trend continuation? You guessed it. Maybe you didn't guess it. Inverted initiative buy level. And also there's probably blue delta looking at the chart. Yeah, blue delta confluent with inverted. So what does this mean? There's an initiative buy level here, right here, structurally. And then there's a second attempt here, and then you're going to attack that. Set a limit order there. Because of this major resistance, or rather major support, which is defined by this initiation of the type 1 uptrend, the shift from type 2 to type 1, which occurs at this range breakout. This is major support. If you sold here, just take off at the bottom. Where should you take off? Failed initiative, sell level, the bottom candle right here. Garbage truck, pausing the video. Okay, I don't know if he's gone or not, I'll probably have to pause again, but this initiative sell level is the best place to take that off if you're respecting this as major support. And so when you have an inversion of this, this should be a failure of this. If the type, well, the type whatever, if the uptrend was going to continue here, this level should be a buy. And you see that functions as a pivot there. We break above this, buying inside of this is viable, and then you take it to the top. This is a very clear, clean entry that you should take. Now there's a plane or something. It's so noisy here. All we need is a tornado siren in my refrigerator to kick on, and we'll be right as rain. This is a viable type 1 setup too, or an A+ setup, right? So why is this an A+ setup? We have major support here. This is an inversion level, so that should be a sell. So we have this moving up to here. There's a second attempt there. We break above that, take the pivot entry, and take it to the high. This is now a type 1 shift again. And you really just buy whatever. Like buy failed delta right here. Perfect entry, almost zero pullback. That's how you trade type 1 uptrends. Literally just buy that and sell there. Or please don't listen to me because of liability, but either way. So this fails. Where does it fail? Oh, one other thing. I've been kind of just rambling here for 20 minutes straight, but the other things that you should be paying attention to are the inversion of these low volume nodes on the upside, but then also initiative sell pushes. Big push down here. You can place a limit order somewhere in here and take it to the top. I think that might have been the same level as the failed sell delta. So the reason I thought of that just now is because this is a pivot now. Where does it fail? Once we clear below that, if this is still hypothetically major resistance, this is now a shift of that trend. We have other issues down here. Once we clear this LVN, selling inside of it, if this is going to continue, a bit spicy of an entry there. However, we see that there's also a confluent 15-second LVN somewhere in here. Once we clear that, this is now failing. So then we just look to sell our inverted pivots. This was our break here, remember? Selling up in here. Where's the LVN of this push? It's actually, so we have this as a range possibly, but then basically perfectly in this market context, LVN, second attempt at the LVN, break below, off of major resistance, enter there. And then we have a type 1 breakdown below. Once we start pushing below this, you can kind of sell for whatever reason you want. Blue delta here, blue delta up here, that kind of fails. But look at what we're inverting. These are better entries. We are inverting this LVN, sell right there. We are inverting this LVN. It's kind of the same level basically. And then once we go up to here, this is a 15-second uptrend now. You can wait for that to fail. Where do you wait for that to fail? It's right here actually. Inversion of this, and then also this is a level 2. So you have an inversion of a 15-second upside LVN right here. And then also, if this was going to be a trend continuation, remember how we were talking about in the other side of the video, if you caught any of this, 20 minutes of me just rambling straight through, right here, failed initiative sell. Once we go below it, selling here to the bottom is the move. This has now hit this 3 times, so it's a little bit weak. I wouldn't take it now. But then this would be a possible area here, and then if in this inverts, this is a pivot, but we're getting close to the open. I do not like to trade between 8:10 and 8:30 because people are closing their overnight positions and the market kind of behaves a little erratically there. So the best thing you can do for your trading process at this point in time is to go back, take a look where your LVNs, this broke, this is one, kind of got inverted. I'm not going to do this right now because it needs a little bit more thought than this. But that's the recap. Nice short 21-minute video, talking you straight through a lot of good technical stuff in there. If you watch this, if you're into futures trading, I'm going to be producing these hopefully multiple times a day, probably not actually, but that would maybe be the goal. So I hope this was helpful. Like, comment, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Thanks for watching.